I'm small framed. I wish I was 6 feet. So that's all. The only difficult part is...
Hey music lovers, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the life and legacy of a drumming legend, the one and only Jeff Porcaro. Buckle up, because this is a story of incredible talent, infectious grooves, and a career that shaped the sound of a generation. Let's dive into the truths that we never knew about Jeff Porcaro. Here we go. Jeffrey Thomas Porcaro, better known by his stage name Jeff, was born on April 1st, 1954 in Hartford, Connecticut. He was destined to have a life that was heavily influenced by music. Jeff Porcaro, the eldest son of Joe Porcaro, a well-known session percussionist in Los Angeles, and Eileen Porcaro, was heavily influenced by the rhythms and beats that would play a significant role in his future as he was growing up. With Jeff's younger brother Mike blossoming as a skilled bassist and fellow member of the famed band Toto, the Porcaro family was a musical force. Mike Porcaro was even a member of the band Toto. Additionally, Steve Porcaro, another brother, demonstrated his abilities on the keyboards while performing with the same band. The youngest member of their family, Jeline Porcaro, was the final member of the musical group. It was when Jeff was just 7 years old that he first started his adventure into the world of drumming. Jeff Porcaro's core talents were rigorously defined by his father, Joe Porcaro, who taught at a local drum store. Joe Porcaro was Jeff's teacher. Jeff continued to get guidance from his father until he became 11 years old. Following that, he went on to study with renowned drumming instructors Bob Zimity and Richie Lepore in order to develop his drumming abilities. Based on the fact that his uncle, the well-known percussionist Emil Richards, was aware of Jeff's growing skill, he suggested that the family move to Los Angeles in order to take advantage of the more numerous chances that were available there. Van Nuys, a thriving neighborhood located in the San Fernando Valley, became the permanent home of the Porcaro family in 1968. The beginning of an era that was filled with musical discovery and development began when Jeff attended Ulysses S. Grant High School, which was located in this location. The years that he spent in high school were crucial because they gave him the opportunity to participate in a variety of bands and hone his musicianship. There were a wide variety of significant inspirations that had a significant impact on Jeff's drumming style. His approach to rhythm and beat was so profoundly influenced by jazz greats such as Elvin Jones, Philly Joe Jones, and Art Blakey that it will never be forgotten. During the formative years of his life, Jeff was also influenced by the work of drummers Jim Keltner and Jim Gordon, whose work he liked tremendously. Jeff teamed together with David Pike, who played the piano, to form a band that was first named as the Merciless Souls. This band was formed when Jeff was attending high school in Sherman Oaks. Jeff gained vital performing experience and a platform to explore with a variety of musical styles via his involvement with this band, which would subsequently be relaunched as Rural Still Life. As a result of the move to Los Angeles, Jeff and his family experienced a significant turning point in their lives. Van Nuys provided Jeff with a dynamic musical atmosphere, which played a significant role in his growth. His musical endeavors flourished in Ulysses S. Grant High School, which served as a fruitful foundation for him. The lessons that Jeff was taking with Richie Lepore and Bob Zimity, a musician who was linked with Frank Zappa, were more intense during this time period. This gave him the opportunity to dive further into the complexities of drumming. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the cultural and musical environment of Los Angeles was dynamic and varied, providing Jeff with a rich tapestry of influences from which to draw inspiration. During his time in high school, he was exposed to a variety of musical styles and genres, which contributed to the expansion of his musical horizons and created the foundation for his subsequent success. The beginning of a new phase in the Porcaro siblings' musical adventure was marked by their participation in the band Toto, which they established together. Toto, which was established in 1977, rose to notoriety very rapidly. They created a distinctive sound by combining elements of rock, pop, jazz, and R&B, which grabbed fans all over the world. The band's success may be attributed in large part to Jeff's remarkable drumming talents, which contributed to the creation of classic songs such as Africa Hold the Line and Rosanna. Jeff Porcaro's choice to join the marching band at his high school, which he did when he was 16 years old, was a move that had a tremendous impact on his musical path. Jeff's first aspiration was to pursue a career in the arts, despite the fact that his ability as a drummer was growing rapidly. In spite of this, it was impossible to deny his enthusiasm for drumming, and he devoted endless hours to honing his skills in this area. During his free time after school, he would practice his talents by playing along to albums by artists such as the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, therefore establishing his own distinctive style. The younger brother of Jeff, Mike Porcaro, also had early potential on the drums, but he ultimately discovered that bass playing was his true calling from the beginning. This familial milieu, which was abundant in musical skill and encouragement, served as a supportive backdrop for Jeff's development as a musician. Jeff's career took a huge jump forward when he played on his debut record when he was just 17 years old or younger. After reaching this significant milestone, he was able to secure his first professional employment, which was on the primetime television show Comedy Hour, with Sonny and Cher. Jeff's decision to pursue this course of action rather than finish high school was influenced by the fact that the possibility of performing on such a famous platform was too alluring for him to pass up. This opportunity presented itself as a result of his participation in a rehearsal band directed by the well-known drummer Jim Keltner. This was the moment that Jeff first became acquainted with bassist David Hungate, who would go on to become a member of the band Toto for him. Jeff was first introduced to the great musician Leon Russell by Hungate, who went on to introduce him to guitarist Dean Parks. Jeff's position in the professional music scene was further solidified as a result of this link, which led to the recording of a demo at Russell's residence. In order to join Sonny and Cher on tour in Las Vegas and make a significant $500 per week, Jeff took the courageous choice to forgo his high school graduation and instead join them on tour. At a time when his career was just beginning to take off, this tour was an important milestone that provided him with tremendous experience and exposure. Between the years 1973 and 1974, Jeff was a member of the folk rock duo Seals and Crofts, which performed at Dante's Club in North Hollywood. During this same period, he earned his first success with the song Diamond Girl. Diamond Girl was his first smash. Jeff's career took a significant turn for the better as a result of this triumph, which established him as a brilliant and sought-after drummer. As a result of Jeff's outstanding performance at Dante's Club, Donald Fagen and Walter Becker, both members of Steely Dan, took notice of an opportunity. They encouraged him to record on their album Pretzel Logic. Because they were impressed by his extraordinary drumming talents, and once he did so, they offered him a place as their regular drummer. It was a testimonial to Jeff's burgeoning name in the music industry and his ability to make a huge impact with his drumming abilities that he was invited to this event. The change that Jeff Porcaro made from working with Sonny and Cher to working with Steely Dan was a significant one in his career. An extraordinary voyage through the annals of music history started with this shift, which marked the beginning of the adventure. The drumming skills that Jeff possessed rapidly gained him a spot among the most prestigious session musicians, and he became a highly sought-after collaborator for a number of the most successful acts in the business. In the world of music, Jeff's discography is like a who's who of legendary musicians. A wide variety of performers, such as Barbra Streisand, Diana Ross, Donna Summer, Elton John, Eric Clapton, George Benson, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Pink Floyd, Joe Cocker, Sergio Mendes, Stan Getz, and of course Steely Dan, were among those with whom he collaborated on recordings. It was his work on Michael Jackson's Thriller and Beat It, as well as Pink Floyd's The Wall, that contributed to some of the most famous singles in the history of music. Not only did these recordings demonstrate Jeff's technical proficiency, but they also demonstrated his ability to adapt to a wide range of musical styles featuring everything from pop and rock to jazz and R&B. Prior to his involvement in the formation of the band Toto, Jeff went on tour with Boz Scaggs, during which he further developed his live performing abilities and established a reputation for being a dynamic drummer. 1977 was the year when Jeff, his brother Steve Porcaro, and two friends from their boyhood, Steve Lukather and David Paich, made the decision to establish their own band. The name Toto is said to have come from Jeff's practice of marking tape boxes with the name Toto, which was inspired by the dog in The Wizard of Oz in order to differentiate which tape boxes were being used during recording sessions. From the very beginning, Toto had lofty objectives in mind. One of the band's goals was to produce albums that would be certified triple platinum, which would indicate that they had sold more than 3 million copies. When it comes to the music industry, the term multi-platinum refers to sales that are greater than 2 million units, whilst the category of diamond is designated for sales that are 10 million units or above. They achieved financial success with their first album, Toto, which was published in 1978, and sold a total of 2 million copies. Despite the fact that this was a tremendous accomplishment, it did not fulfill their ambitious objective of achieving triple platinum. It was in 1982 when Toto published their fourth studio album, titled Toto IV, which was the result of their efforts. Not only did they achieve their lofty sales objective with this album, but it also garnered them critical acclaim and respect from the musicians in their field. Among the 6 Grammy Awards that were bestowed to Toto IV were the coveted categories of Record of the Year for Rosanna Album of the Year and Producer of the Year. It was the triumph of Toto IV that cemented the band's position in the annals of music history and highlighted the incomparable synergy that existed among its members. Jeff Porcaro is revered among drummers for the one-of-a-kind drum pattern that he utilized on the musical composition Rosanna by Toto, which was awarded the Grammy Award. The song is characterized by a beat that is known as the half-time shuffle groove, and it is said that it was inspired by the actress Rosanna Arquette, whom Jeff's brother Steve was dating at the time. It was Bernard Purdie who came up with this pattern in the first place, and he gave it the moniker the Purdie Shuffle. Jeff was able to combine Purdie's shuffle with the pattern that John Bonham utilized on Led Zeppelin's Fool in the Rain, all while inserting a Bo Diddley beat on the kick drum. This was an incredible combination. As a result of this combination, Jeff was able to create a rhythm that was both intricate and easily fluid, which became his hallmark style. The band Toto was thrust into the public eye with the publication of their debut album in 1978. The record contained singles such as Hold the Line, I'll Supply the Love, and Georgie Porgy, which featured the vocals of Cheryl Lynn. As a result of this momentum, the band started working on their second album, which was titled Hydra, and it was released to the public in the latter half of 1979. The cult classic film THX 1138 by George Lucas served as the inspiration for the lead track 99. The guitarist for the band, Steve Lukather, subsequently admitted that 99 was one of his least favorite songs by Toto, which is what led to its occasional inclusion in live performances after the Hydra tour. This was despite the fact that the song was extremely popular. The album Hydra was able to gain gold certification despite the fact that it did not attain the same level of commercial success as Toto's debut album. The album was a demonstration of the band's desire to experiment with a variety of subjects and styles, yet it did not resonate as strongly with their wider audience. The band's emerging musical identity was significantly influenced by this time of experimenting, which was so important. Toto's third studio album, titled Turn Back, was officially released in the beginning of 1981. This album signaled a substantial departure in the band's musical style. Taking on a bigger, arena rock sound with more prominent guitar riffs and less keyboards, the album was created with the intention of appealing to a different subset of the rock audience. The band's Turn Back had a difficult time climbing the charts, notably in North America, despite their tremendous efforts. Due to the album's lack of hit singles and dismal sales, Toto faced a big issue that threatened their career. It had been over 2 years since they had a major hit in North America, and both of these factors contributed to the situation. The drumming that Jeff Porcaro did on Rosanna is still considered to be the height of his career. It exemplifies his ability to create and combine a variety of inspirations into a rhythm that is all-encompassing and unforgettable. The early years of Toto, which were characterized by the success of their debut album and the performance of the experimental song Hydra, established a solid basis for the band. On the other hand, the commercial difficulties that Turn Back encountered brought to light the unstable nature of the music industry, as well as the ongoing requirement for innovation. In spite of these obstacles, Jeff's contributions to Toto and the wider music environment have created an enduring legacy, having an impact on a large number of drummers and artists all around the world. In spite of the fact that Turn Back was not successful commercially, Toto was able to achieve an unexpected breakthrough in Japan with the lead song Goodbye Eleanor. There was a big turning point for the band as a result of the popularity of the song, which established Japan as a crucial market and a permanent feature in their touring itinerary. The band's morale and career trajectory received a much-needed lift as a result of their latest surge in popularity in international markets. As a result of the publication of Toto IV in 1982, Toto reached the most successful chapter of their career. The album was released after the underwhelming sales of Turn Back, which put a great deal of pressure on the band to produce a success before the album was released. Toto rose to the challenge and delivered one of the albums that gained triple platinum certification, making it one of the most successful albums of the year commercially. The album Toto IV contained 3 songs that broke into the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Rosanna Africa and I Won't Hold You Back. The overwhelming praise and economic success of the album may be attributed, in part, to each individual song. Africa, in particular, became a phenomenon that spread throughout the world, reaching the top of the charts in February 1983 and becoming a regular on radio stations all over the world. Not only did Rosanna dominate the airwaves, but it also received many Grammy nominations and accolades, establishing Toto's position as a significant figure in the history of music. Over the course of this time period, Steve Porcaro, Jeff's brother, collaborated with Michael Jackson on the composition of the song Human Nature, which was included on the groundbreaking album Thriller in 1982. As a result of the song's enormous success, the Porcaro family's influence in the music business was elevated to an even greater level. Jeff and Steve also contributed to a number of tunes that were included on the album Thriller, the most notable of which was the Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney duet titled The Girl Is Mine. The fact that they were a part of such a historic album demonstrated the variety and ability that they each had as musicians. After the release of Toto, IV bassist David Hungate made the decision to quit the band in order to devote his time and energy to his family and his work as a studio musician in Nashville. Despite the fact that his departure signified the end of an era, Toto continued to develop and adapt, which ensured their continuing existence in the ever-evolving music environment. The unexpected success of Goodbye Eleanor in Japan and the monumental impact of Toto IV marked a period of resurgence and triumph for Toto. The band's ability to rebound from previous setbacks and deliver a critically acclaimed, commercially successful album demonstrated their resilience and talent, with hit singles like Rosanna in Africa, captivating audiences worldwide, and significant contributions to Michael Jackson's Thriller. Jeff Porcaro and his bandmates cemented their legacy in the music industry. Immediately following David Hungate's resignation, Jeff's brother Mike Porcaro took over as the band's new bassist. This move ensured that the band's rhythm section would continue to be composed of members of the same family. The beginning of the 1980s was a turbulent time for Toto, as the lead vocalist Bobby Kimball was arrested and charged with drug-related offenses at the beginning of 1983. Kimball was ultimately dismissed from his position in 1984, owing to continued recording concerns, despite the fact that he had been found not guilty in May of that year. There was a wedding between Jeff Porcaro and Susan Norris, who worked as a television presenter at KABC-TV in Los Angeles, on October 22, 1983. Jeff's life was made more secure and filled with love as a result of their union, and they went on to produce three sons: Christopher Joseph, who was born in 1984, Miles Edwin Crawford, who was born in 1986 and unfortunately died away in 2017, and Nico Hendricks, who was born in 1991. During the year 1984, Toto took on a new challenge by creating the majority of the music for the science fiction picture Dune, which was directed by David Lynch. Through the completion of this project, the band demonstrated its adaptability and capacity to explore a variety of musical styles. Richard Page, who was a member of Mr. at the time, was presented with the opportunity to become the lead vocalist for Toto, but he declined the offer. The result of this was that Fergie Frederiksen was recruited to take over as the band's frontman. Isolation, Toto's fifth studio album, was released in November of 1984. It was the band's fifth and last studio album. The album was able to achieve gold status, which was spurred by the popularity of the single Stranger in Town. This was accomplished despite the fact that the band's current lineup had undergone several changes. The album Isolation was released in February of 1985, and it was backed by a tour that took place that same year. This tour provided the band with the chance to exhibit their new work as well as to restore their contact with their followers. Fergie Frederiksen was fired from his employment with the band in 1985, following the completion of the Isolation tour. The reason for his dismissal was due to problems that occurred during the recording process. The band Toto was so intent on finding a new lead vocalist who would be a suitable fit for their evolving sound that they decided to hold auditions for anybody who might be interested in joining the band. Joseph Williams, the son of the well-known composer John Williams and the singer-actress Barbara Ruick, was selected to represent the band as their new lead vocalist in the beginning of the year 1986. Barbara Ruick was the singer-actress. In the moment when Joseph Williams became a member of the band, Toto immediately began writing songs for their second album, which was titled Fahrenheit, the band's Fahrenheit album, which was released in October of 1986, marked the beginning of a new chapter in their history. It featured a combination of their signature rock sound with elements of pop and jazz, among other musical styles. Williams added a new facet to the group, which resulted in the group being able to continue their contributions while also assisting them in carrying on their history in the music industry. Despite the fact that Fergie Frederiksen started recording songs for Toto's album Fahrenheit, his contributions were eventually restricted to background vocals on the song Could This Be Love. Despite the fact that he had already started recording for the album, this was the situation. There were major ballads on the album, including I'll Be Over You and Without Your Love, both of which were played by Steve Lukather. The album was a return to the band's pop-rock beginnings, and it had notable ballads. These two tracks were both featured on the album that was released. the release of Toto's album Fahrenheit in the year 1986 brought about a revitalization for the band's fans. This was a direct result of the band's ability to successfully combine their characteristic rock sound with elements of melodic pop. After the publication of their album Fahrenheit, Toto embarked on a tour that took them all over the world. During this tour, they performed their new songs for audiences that came from all over the world. 1987 was the year that the tour came to a close, which signified the ending of a considerable length of time during which the band had performed and engaged with their fans. In contrast, during this time period, there was also a change in the band's lineup. This change occurred during this time period. The decision to leave the band was made by Jeff Porcaro so that he could concentrate on his growing career as a composer for cinema and television. This action was taken by him in order to put his profession first. After leaving the band, Steve continued to make contributions to Toto's studio albums and even accompanied them on their tour in 1988. This was despite the fact that he had separated from the band. In spite of the fact that he had recently left the band, all of this appeared to be happening. A number of years later, on October 3, 1994, Fahrenheit would be granted the Gold certification, which is a demonstration of the film's continued popularity and success over the period of time. In 1988, Toto released an album titled The Seventh One, which featured John Anderson providing background vocals for the song Stop Loving You. Additionally, the album featured the popular track Pamela. During the course of the year 1988, the album was made available to the public, because this album became the band's most successful release since Toto IV. It not only improved their reputation in the music business, but also showed that they are capable of generating music that is not only engaging but also financially practical. This album was the band's most successful release since Toto IV. The band's second tour for The Seventh One was a huge success, which served to further strengthen the band's renown and mend their relationship with their fans. The tour was also a huge success. As well as that, the tour was a big success. Despite this, Toto made the decision to change lead singer Joseph Williams during a time when the band was experiencing more popularity by replacing Williams. For the purpose of recording a greatest hits CD, the band initially contemplated getting back together with Bobby Kimball, who had been the band's original leader earlier. In order to pay tribute to the band's extensive history, this was done. They made the choice to select Jean-Michel Byron as their new lead vocalist, despite the fact that they had previously been investigating other alternatives. This decision was taken as a result of the pressure that they encountered from their record business. Bobby Kimball, who had previously functioned as the band's vocalist, collaborated with the band to record Going Home in the period of time leading up to Jean-Michel Byron's official entrance with Toto. 4 new songs were recorded by Toto for their compilation album titled Past to present 1977 to 1990, which was released in the year 1990. After Byron became a member of the band has been cooperating with one another. A blend of the band's older songs and newer material was included on this album, which served as a demonstration of the band's development throughout the course of its existence. For the goal of promoting their album Past to present 1977 to 1990, Toto embarked on the Planet Earth tour, which lasted from September to December of that same year. The tour was a success. On the other hand, the manner in which Jean-Michel Byron carried himself and his presence on stage were factors that led to the escalation of tensions during the tour. As a direct result of these issues, he was eventually demoted to background vocals, and not long after that, he was finally terminated from his position in the band. Steve Lukather, the band's guitarist, took on the job of lead vocalist as a response to the circumstance, which represented yet another change in the dynamic of the band. In 1991, Toto delivered a performance at the renowned Montreux Jazz Festival, which further solidified their reputation as musicians who were both incredibly competent and extremely diverse in their musical styles. During the course of the same year, they completed the recording of the song Kingdom of Desire, which was subsequently marketed by Columbia Records in other countries and by Relativity Records in the United States. In addition to having a sound that was more sophisticated and accomplished than the band's prior albums, this album was a reflection of the band's experiences and progress over the course of the years. An unfortunate event occurred on the evening of August 5, 1992, when Jeff Porcaro, who was just 38 years old at the time of his death, died at Humana Hospital West Hills. It had been earlier that day that he had become unwell while spraying pesticide in the yard of his home in Hidden Hills. According to the findings of the coroner, Jeff had experienced a heart attack that was brought on by occlusive coronary artery disease, which was brought on by atherosclerosis. It is very probable that his history of cocaine usage contributed to the severity of his condition. His death may have been brought on by an allergic response to the pesticide that he ingested, according to a spokeswoman from the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office, as well as one of the medical professionals who were involved in the investigation. Jeff Porcaro's sudden death left a void in the music world, but reflections on his lifestyle and health offered some insight into the tragedy. Steve Lukather, Jeff's bandmate and close friend, as well as his wife, were of the opinion that his smoking habit and the fact that he had a heart disease that had been present for a long time were key factors in his early death. Lukather made the observation that numerous generations of the Porcaro family had suffered from congestive heart disease, which resulted in premature deaths, and suggested that there was a hereditary tendency to experiencing cardiovascular problems. He was put to rest in Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles, California, which is located in the state of California. In order to pay their respects to the great drummer, fans, friends, and family members flocked to his tomb to pay their respects. His burial serves as a place of remembering. The inscription that is engraved on the headstone of Jeff is a passionate one that encapsulates the eternal spirit of his legacy. This item is engraved with lyrics from the song Wings of Time from the album Kingdom of Desire, which read as follows: "Our love does not stop here. It is on the wings of time that it will live eternally." These remarks are a reflection of the enduring influence that Jeff's music had on people around him, as well as the love that he shared with them. Due to the fact that Jeff Porcaro was a student at Grant High School in Los Angeles during the early 1970s, the Jeff Porcaro Memorial Fund was formed specifically for the purpose of providing financial support to the music and art departments of the school after his passing. There were a number of musicians who took part in a tribute performance that took place on December 14, 1992, at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles. Some of the performers that took part in the event included George Harrison, Boz Scaggs, Donald Fagen, Don Henley, Michael McDonald, David Crosby, Eddie Van Halen, and the members of Toto. The roster of musicians for the show was all stars. In order to ensure that Porcaro's sons are able to afford their education, the money that was produced from the concert was placed into a trust fund for them. The loss of Jeff Porcaro was a profound moment for his family, friends, and the global music community. Despite the factors contributing to his early demise, his legacy as an exceptional drummer and a beloved individual remains undiminished. His final resting place at Forest Lawn Memorial Park and the poignant epitaph on his tombstone ensure that his memory will continue to inspire and comfort those who cherished him. Through his music and the indelible mark he left on the world, Jeff Porcaro's love and legacy truly live on the wings of time. And with that, we reach the end of our exploration into the captivating life of Nina Simone. Her fierce voice and innovative compositions continue to empower and inspire generations of musicians and listeners alike. How do you feel about Jeff Porcaro's death? In the next video, which one do you want to know about? Leave us your comment below. We're willing to see your comments. Keep an eye out for future videos where we delve into the lives of more musical icons. Until then, thanks for joining us and take care.